Hello and welcome to another live event from Force 13, and again we're discussing the latest information on the storms around the world, but of course, most importantly, the progress of Typhoon Maysak as it continues towards the Philippines, where it's expected to make landfall this weekend. As always, we'll be, of course, the next hour will be spent discussing the storm and, of course, replying to your questions and comments as well. We're also joined, myself, I'm Nathan Foy. I'm joined by several other people. Jean, first of all, he's joining us live from Mauritius. Nice of you to join us. We also have Daniel as well, who is muted at the moment because I don't know why. He decided to do that. I think he's talking to someone. And we also have Jason as well, joining us from Australia, where there will be a lunar eclipse tomorrow, isn't there? And that's going to be exciting. Yeah. And all of these people will be showing, well, hopefully showing some screen shares as well, whilst I talk a load of nonsense for the next hour. But anyway, let's take a look then. The latest information on Typhoon Maysak. Actually, if we look at Jason's screen here, you can see the two systems there, Maysak and a possible, well, actually the new tropical depression that has formed in the West Pacific. Now, this is news because it has formed in the past few hours. I'm not sure exactly when it did because I would have been in bed, but it's expected to become a tropical storm in the next few days. If I could show you my imagery on my screen right now. You can see on the JTWC's warning map here where the storm's expected to go, just north of the island of Chuuk and some other islands associated in Chuuk State, and then move towards the north and then towards the northeast and dissipate. And as for Maysak, a significant cyclone still, winds of around 100 miles per hour, which is 160 kilometers per hour, and it's expected to gradually weaken until making its landfall in the eastern part of Luzon in the Philippines, possibly in Aurora or Isabela provinces. As we speak, there are warnings in effect now as well for the first time in the Philippines, and let me read those out to you whilst we look at Jason's map to sort of give you an idea of where these locations are, those who aren't familiar. Signal 1 warnings are in effect for the following: Isabela, Aurora, Quirino, Quezon, including Polilia Island, Catanduanes, Camarines North, and Camarines Sur. Corrections on pronunciation, I know. But mainly those places on the eastern coast of Luzon, almost all the way towards the south, ending at Camarines Sur. Not including the northern province of Cagayan yet, but Isabela and Aurora are the places to look out for the storm at this point, because that is where we'll probably see the landfall, and wind speeds at landfall will probably be around 110 or 120 kilometers per hour. Daniel?
Hello, what did I miss?
Nice of you to join us. I know you missed the start of the show. How are you doing?
I'm alright, I
Excellent.
guess.
Enjoying your 2 weeks of rest?
Yeah.
We spoke about this before the show started. Let's not go there. What we also have as well is we did have a disturbance in the southern Indian Ocean as well, which Invest 91S. Now there's Jean's screen showing us that system actually now. Seems to be waning slightly on those latest frames. A big flare-up happened several hours ago, which is now no longer occurring by the looks of things. And that system could head towards the island of Rodrigues in the next few days as a tropical disturbance. It doesn't appear so far that the storm will become a significant cyclone. But yes, what we're looking at predominantly though is the Typhoon Maysak, which is likely to deliver tropical storm force winds, possibly typhoon force winds, if not gusts, over the northern part of the Philippines this Easter weekend.
There was another one, wasn't there? Another storm.
Yes, and that is now Tropical Depression 5W, which has
Right.
behind Maysak. You can see it on Jason's screen right now. You can see both systems. Actually, there is the tropical depression 5W. This is located near the Micronesian islands. Could develop into a tropical storm in the coming days. Not quite as strong as what we initially expected it could be on the models. That's why I suppose models aren't always to be taken literally, I suppose, because they can differ, especially when it's far out like it was several days ago. But you can see both storms there on the screen, and I think Maysak is shrinking as well, which is due to its not so conducive environment anymore. Dry air on the left-hand side. Wind shear, I'm guessing, is pretty strong around the storm as well. I haven't looked at it today, but I saw it last night. And wind shear was certainly closing in back then. But actually, I think it's abated a little bit looking at the latest wind shear map. If you have a look here, you can see how wind shear is decreasing around the storm, and the high amounts have sort of gone back a little bit. And you can see marked by that L, that small red L towards the bottom right of your screen there where my cursor's hovering around. That is Tropical Depression 5W, and that could also obviously become a tropical storm because of a good shear environment around that as well. Also, looking at the water vapor imagery, you can see drier air towards the left-hand side of Typhoon Maysak. No such problem for the tropical depression, so we could see development of that very shortly, if indeed it is already occurring. Any questions for us, please send them in, and we'll be more than happy to answer. And you can do that on either our YouTube channel or on the video right now, or on the social pages on Facebook or Twitter. In the meantime, Maysak, the 20th storm to form in the world in 2015. It was the 4th Category 5, which is rather remarkable at this time of year. We've had a pretty explosive start to the year, I suppose, in 2015. 4 Category 5s already, and 1 super typhoon. Only in company of only 2 others that became super typhoons in the month of March. Looking at Jean's screen, you can see what the models are saying. GFS and a NavGem there. Both seem to be pretty much in agreement now of where the landfall location will be, though it could still change. Though it does appear likely that it will occur in Aurora or in Isabella in the next 48 hours, as it is now. So we're going to be looking probably on Easter Sunday, looking at a landfall, or on that night, if I'm not mistaken. And if you look at Jason's map, if you're unfamiliar with the locations in the north of the Philippines, I don't know if we can see it or not. I can't on my screen, but hopefully everyone can at home. The storm is expected to hit the northeastern part of the Philippines, of the northern island of Luzon, and then traverse through that, and then move back out to sea into the South China Sea, moving over all those provinces in the north. Probable track through Isabela, maybe through Mountain Province or Kalinga, then Abra and Ilocos Sur, and then out to sea in the South China Sea. Sean also shows us Hong Kong's version, showing the storm actually headed towards Hong Kong in the next few days. So it's not necessarily over when the storm strikes the Philippines, because when it does emerge, what will be probably a fairly weak storm, albeit, will emerge over the water and possibly make another landfall in China or near Hong Kong. But that's what Hong Kong think about the storm. So if Jean would scroll up once more, by that 3rd point on the map, the last point on the map, there it is. You can see that that last point there is only going to be a tropical depression, according to Hong Kong Observatory. Jason also shows us a terrain map as well of what the northern part of the Philippines looks like. A mountainous area, the whole region really. I mean, there's the initial mountains on the right-hand side, and then there's the more flatter areas, that valley, and then more mountains towards the west, and that will obviously take its toll on the storm, especially if it passes right over them. Land interaction's one thing, but a mountainous environment, mountainous terrain, can quite often lead to significant weakening of a storm, and that's why we probably won't see much left of it by the time it emerges back over waters. Especially considering that it is already on a weakening trend. So it was a Category 5 not so long ago, and is now barely a Category 2 storm. Daniel?
Really? Yeah, it just crashed again, the app, but I sent a rather pleasantly worded crash thing to the Google Plus developers.
Crash report.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, we've containing a bit of profanity.
Daniel, we can't condone that. I mean, yeah, we can, but
Pardon?
we can't. We can't condone the profanity.
No, no. So I shouldn't have said it, but hopefully it might gain a response.
Well, we don't know. I think respectfulness is the way to go, don't you think?
Yeah, I should have done that. But
oh well.
They don't know who I am.
That's. I think Daniel should do another vlog post on that as well. his fight with Google Plus, excellent. You can follow Force 13 Extra, which is where all our members post their very own videos. You can search Force 13 Extra without the E at the beginning of the word extra. It's quite confusing. So it's Force 13 XTRA, and you can access it, I think, from Force 13 itself. If not, then I'm not doing my job properly.
If they can be bothered uploading things, though. I think Michael uploaded something yesterday, didn't he?
Yeah, Michael did a small update on the Typhoon, but you may as well watch this video. Because, not because it's better, but because it's the most up to date. You see.
Yeah, of course.
We want to deliver the most up to date information to everyone. So there you can see the Typhoon on Jason's map now. Not too far from the Philippines. Let me remind everyone again, if you've just joined us, Signal 1 warnings are in effect for the following provinces: Isabela, Aurora, Quirino, Quezon, including Polillo Island, or is it Polillo Island? Catanduanes, I have no idea on the pronunciation on that one. Camarines North and Camarines Sur, north and south.
I think.
On Luzon, there you can see them as well. I don't know whether Jason could do a nice little way of highlighting all those areas by any chance. I have no idea how he would do that, but it would be pretty cool. Apart from me actually making a warning map, which is pretty impractical to do whilst I'm on the air.
Well, whilst we're on the air, can I give a suggestion?
Yeah, of course you can. Say anything you like, as long as it's not expletives.
Sure. Perhaps a good way to encourage people to post stuff and get engaged on that Force 15 Extra channel would be to pay people for each piece of content they upload.
What a bad idea, Waniel. What do you think? I'm made of money?
No, you could get money though.
I don't like the idea of that because
rob a bank.
Great. Well, listen, even I don't get paid for doing this, so a fat chance of anyone else.
I'm only joking. Money's not everything.
Yeah, it is for some people. But,
I guess.
I mean, I think when you think about storms and the amount of damage that they cause, there's a lot of money in that. But worse is the human cost of the storm, which I think is what it all boils down to at the end of things, isn't it?
Yeah. That's why we're doing the fundraiser, Hurricane Week.
We are indeed. Hurricane Week, if you've not heard of it yet, we are doing it this year in 2015. It's going to occur sometime in November. Either the beginning or at the end. We're not sure yet, but I think it's going to be towards the beginning of November. Once we finalise dates, we'll let you know. And we're also going to be doing a fundraiser on the last day of Hurricane Week 2015, where we will be raising money for storm victims around the world, hopefully. And we'd love everyone to spread the word once we finalise everything, which will be in the next week or two, I think, and let everyone know about it. And hopefully support the cause. We're also looking for anyone who has experiences or stories about the storm, about storms that they've experienced in the past. Doesn't matter how long ago it might have been. It could have been at any time at all if you've experienced a typhoon, a hurricane, or a cyclone. And you can either do an interview with us live, well, not live, actually recorded on one of these hangouts, or you could or you could make your very own video about it and send it to us. We'd love to air it on the last day of Hurricane Week 2015. Indeed. And I know a few people who have experienced such storms as well. I'm just not sure whether they'd want to appear on video or not. I guess that's the...
Did I miss anything just then? It crashed yet again.
Yeah, I was just talking about videos, people who want to do videos about storm experiences.
All right.
Emilino Campo says, what is the latest status about Typhoon Maysak? Well, if you've just joined us, this is the latest information. Typhoon Maysak is still a Category 2 storm. It has winds of 100 miles per hour, which is 160 kilometers per hour. What's this? Its Philippine name, of course, is Chedeng. And according to Pagasa, you can see on Jason's screen there, maximum sustained winds 140, gusting to 170. And there you can see all the warnings, where warnings are in effect for the Philippines right now. Mainly eastern coastlines of Luzon, extending from Isabela as far south as Camarines and the offshore island of Catanduanes or something like that. I'm not going to say that anymore. Had enough.
No.
It's not the only storm we have active. We have Tropical Depression 5W, which has formed near Micronesia. That's expected to move towards the north and could deliver some bad conditions to the Micronesian islands. I do wonder, actually, whether the Guam's National Weather Service has issued any warnings as well, because I've not actually looked at that yet. I imagine that they might have. No, not yet. But do expect that they may well be tropical storm watches or warnings perhaps coming into effect soon, who knows. But 35 miles per hour that storm is now, and its air pressure is guessing somewhere around 1,000 millibars. Jason, do a close-up of Maysak once more, would you please? In the meantime, let's take a look at Jean's imagery of Invest 91S. That storm is expected to move towards the north of Rodrigues in the next few days, so we'll keep you updated on that one as well if it becomes a tropical cyclone. There's Jason's imagery once more of Typhoon Maysak. In relation to the Philippines, not quite affecting the Philippines just yet, but it could do so very soon indeed. The center of the storm still remains very strong, even though it's not as strong as it used to be several days ago. It is still a very strong cyclone indeed. Though what is, I suppose, a good thing about it is that most of the bad weather associated with the storm is located on the eastern side at the moment, apart from the central core. Lots of heavy rain occurring on the east, but because there is dry air situated to the west, there isn't so much going on the western side of the storm. It ends pretty abruptly on the left-hand side. And its northern spiral band is not looking so good anymore. But you can see where it is in relation to the Philippines. What is that? Maybe 200 miles or so away from the storm affecting land, maybe a little bit more. And the storm's expected to affect northern parts of the Philippines. Manila, that area, probably not going to see too much from this storm. I imagine there will still be some heavy rain. There may still be some local flooding. But further north is going to be the worst area, where we may see more bad conditions, especially on the eastern coast, which luckily isn't particularly populated, but there are still people living along there. So we may still see some bad effects from the storm when it does make landfall. Probably with winds of around, we're expecting maybe around 110 kilometers per hour when it makes landfall, and that's going to occur in around 2 days' time, probably on the evening of Easter Sunday. Danny?
Did you hear me then?
Sorry, no, I had you on quiet because your brother was talking in the background.
All right. Well, Do you know how many fatalities have there been so far?
Well, Maysak, we know, caused at least 5 fatalities in Chuuk in Micronesia. I'm not sure whether that figure has gone up or not. I don't expect that it has particularly, but in the Philippines, obviously the storm is still yet to strike. Hopefully there won't be any fatalities in the Philippines, but it may happen.
Yeah.
Hopefully everyone is prepared sufficiently in the northern part of Luzon, and obviously we'll be continuing to forecast the storm as it affects the Philippines and beyond. We'll be doing live updates twice a day, every single day, except Easter Sunday, when we'll be doing only one, which I think is enough, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because these guys here need a holiday. But at the very least, we'll be doing 2 updates every day, but not all of those will be live.
So we'll be on holiday this week.
Well, it depends what happens in the world of storms. I might have to call you back.
I don't mind.
I know you don't.
I haven't missed one.
I mean, I'm always here. We just get people who want to come on the Hangout can. So if you think you know a lot about storms and would like to help us out in our forecasting job, then you can do so if you wish. Just send us a message and we'll see about getting you on. Or just as a guest, if you'd like to talk about storms that you've experienced or anything, even if it's slightly off topic, who knows? And go on.
Oh, if you want to donate to my laptop fund.
No. Don't think that's going to happen, Daniel. Don't think that's going to happen.
Forget it.
And I wouldn't expect you guys to do updates on Christmas Day, for instance, even though I have in the past.
Yeah.
Christmas Day updates, how about that? Okay, Amelino Campo says, is Bicol region really affected by Typhoon Maysak? Well, that area is towards the south of Luzon, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, if we look at this map here. So all the areas highlighting green is that region. So 3 of those areas, Camarines North, Camarines Sur, and Catandran, are under Signal 1 warnings at this point. So we could expect some gusty winds occurring there. The more southern provinces of Albay and Sorsogon will probably not experience particularly harsh effects from the storm in the next few days, though we may still see some heavy rainfall occurring there as well. I don't think it's going to be too bad for that whole region, to be quite honest with you, because the storm is going to be passing to the north. The storm will actually pass over here somewhere, and then affect the region in the Cagayan Valley around Isabela or perhaps Aurora, but it looks like all pointers are heading more towards landfall in Isabela now. But you can see live right now, this is the latest imagery, nearly live, where you can see the past few hours where the storm's been headed, sort of giving us a little indicator where the storm may be headed towards. So sort of like a west-northwest heading at the moment. Looks more actually west and west-northwest in the last few frames. But the storm probably going to curve a little bit more towards the north. That's what we're expecting. Certainly Hong Kong are expecting that, looking at Jean's map. A gradual curve towards the north. And then weakening into a low pressure system, into a tropical depression, and then obviously probably dissipation over the South China Sea, the northern part not too far from the coast of China and Hong Kong.
I've got a question.
Oh yeah.
You said you were getting, you've got 3 screens, haven't you, currently at the moment?
No, only 2.
Oh, when you said you were going to get a 3rd one, didn't you? When are you going to get that one? How I think best, do you know?
Well, you need a lot of screens to do storm tracking effectively, so
yeah, definitely.
I'd like to get a 3rd screen if possible, and that might happen one day.
Yeah, one day you might even have 10 screens.
Nah, 10's too much, Daniel.
Yeah, you need 10 eyes.
Well,
you need an eye on each screen.
Yeah, clearly. I mean, right now I'm using both my screens. One of my screens is what you're looking at on your screen right now, effectively, and the other screen is this Hangout control room where I control everything that's going on in here and direct which screen we're looking at and who we're going to be listening to, and So that's two of my screens occupied, which I have to snap between the two, and then click off that to look at the comments if there's any new comments. So not always, I can't always see what the comments are. But by the way, if you are commenting, which I know some people do, and we reply pretty quickly, but just to let you know, there is around a 1 minute delay on the videos. So if you think we're ignoring you, we're not.
If anyone's got anything for me to answer, which I don't think, I doubt many people will, just
do like a little novice quiz for you, don't we? If you're unaware, Daniel here is our novice at tropical cyclones. He's only been part of the Force 13 team for about 3 months or so. I'm not doing that at all. I just don't want to make it sound like we don't know what we're talking about. I need to point out that Daniel doesn't really know what's going on.
Yeah, otherwise I'll just think I'm an idiot.
But you'd expect that because Daniel doesn't live in a hurricane zone. That's one thing. And another thing is that he's only gotten into this in the past 3 months. He knew very, very little about storms back in January, didn't you?
I guess so.
What did you know about hurricanes?
I knew what they were.
Right.
I can't think of anything else. I just knew what they were. Any stuff about them, what they were. Well,
right.
How they formed and how they formed. I just knew that they...
Well, let me tell you about typical British knowledge about hurricanes and typhoons, right? Lots of people here, believe it or not, can't distinguish between a hurricane and a tornado.
Stupid. They're so different.
Well, people just don't know because we don't see hurricanes or tornadoes here.
Yeah.
Or typhoons, for that matter.
And if we do, we get a really poorly uploaded video to YouTube with loads of people saying bloody hell on it and stuff like that.
Well,
yeah.
And some people, which you can forgive a little bit more, don't know the difference between a hurricane and a typhoon. And the answer is that there isn't a difference between a hurricane and a typhoon, apart from where they are. Hurricanes form in the Atlantic and East Pacific. Typhoons, like the one we're looking at right now, form in the Western Pacific. And the only difference is the name, which I don't know how those names came about, but I think it's probably because of historical traditions and all that, and a name that stuck really. A typhoon isn't it a Japanese word? And hurricane is I think derives from hurricane, which is Spanish.
I didn't know a typhoon was the same as a hurricane actually.
Oh, there you go. Well,
yeah.
Well, there you go. You learn something new every day.
I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's both the storms there. Tropical storm, Typhoon Maysak, still a Category 2 storm with winds of 100 miles per hour. That hasn't changed in the past 6 hours, which is around 160 kilometers per hour and stronger wind gusts than that as well. We also have Tropical Depression 5W. So the typhoon's on your left-hand side of the screen here, and the Tropical Depression is on the right on Jason's screen. The Tropical Depression 5W will probably be named as a tropical storm in the next few hours or days. It's gradually intensifying. Isn't likely to affect the Philippines, luckily, even though Maysak is. But the next depression is likely to move towards the north near Micronesia and then move out to sea and weaken into a tropical depression once more and dissipate away from land. So once again, looking at Typhoon Maysak, obviously late evening in the Philippines, the storm beginning to approach. Signal 1 warnings in effect for the eastern coast of Luzon, large parts of it extending from Isabela to Camarines Sur, and the landfall area is expected to be probably going to be Isabela province. And there's another graphic of where the storm's expected to go. It's pretty split at the moment. Hong Kong Observatory predicting the storm will move towards Hong Kong itself. but will be very weak if it ever does arrive there. May not be nothing left of it by the time it does, and it may turn again before then. GFS model is currently predicting the storm to move through the Philippines and then weaken substantially as it moves overland, and then eventually dissipate near the coast of Hainan in China. Daniel?
Nothing really to add to
Nothing
that,
really.
I'm afraid.
It's a shame that we don't have any Filipino speakers, actually, because that
Yeah.
would really help. Because I know not everyone does speak English in the Philippines, and obviously we like to get our service out there.
Yeah. They speak Filipino, don't they?
Yeah, that's the local language, isn't it?
I don't know. They have their own language. I thought they spoke Spanish or something.
Well, isn't it? I don't want to say something wrong here because I don't actually know too much about it. But the only two words I know in Filipino are the words for storm, which I think is bagyong or something like that. It's been typhoon, and this is Typhoon Maysak headed towards the Philippines. Likely to make landfall with winds of around 110 kilometers per hour. We'll probably be seeing gusty winds, heavy rainfall occurring along large swathes of the coast of Luzon, the eastern coast, on the left-hand side of your screen there. So if I hover my cursor over it, all around this area, all that whole area there may well see tropical storm force winds, and in there as well. I don't think Manila will see anything too harsh, though there may still be some heavy rain and some gusty winds occurring there as well.
Has a hurricane ever hit Hawaii?
Of course, last year.
Oh, right. Which one was that? I'll see if it rings a bell.
Tropical Hurricane Isel made. Wasn't it Isel?
Oh, yeah.
Emelino Campos says, thanks a lot about the information. God bless. Thank you for the kind words and for watching our updates. We hope we're doing a good service.
Glad to hear somebody's enjoyed them.
Well, it's
sure plenty of people do.
Well, I guess we do what we have to predict the storms and let everyone know what's going on. And please share us as well, because obviously the more people it gets out to, the better, isn't it? So there's Hong Kong's map once more. Jean, I don't think we've seen it yet, and I know we've got it up on your tabs there. Could we look at the Earth map on the typhoon? So that's is that current? I think it might be. And yeah, if you could cycle through the forecast perhaps on that. I think we've lost Jason for the time being, unfortunately. So there's a storm moving towards Luzon, so this is what to expect. So those areas under Signal 1 warnings probably going to be justified. We'll be seeing some gusty winds at the very least. I imagine that Signal 2 warnings may be hoisted in parts of eastern Luzon, in particular Aurora and Isabela. You can see how the storm is much weaker when it emerges on the other side of the Philippines. And if we just skip forward another frame here, John, yes, weaker again by the time we enter April the 6th. And it will be barely a tropical depression in the South China Sea. And then the next day, there's hardly anything left of it at all. On the 7th, but it appears that the center of the storm is not too far from Hainan Island in China. So I don't think, I mean, if you're in China or if you're in Hong Kong right now, I don't think there's going to be any significant effects from the storm. I don't think you should really worry about that, but I think it's going to be mainly a problem for the Philippines in the next few days. Of course, preparations already in effect, I'm sure. Signal 1 warnings already been lifted, been hoisted in parts of eastern Luzon, all along the coast at the moment. Every province from Isabela southwards to Camarines, including the offshore island of Catanduanes, or something like that. I don't know the pronunciation of that island. Someone tell me.
What do you get in each box? You got 4 boxes of them. I was sold everything.
Daniel?
A pronunciation.
No. Well, I'm sure you won't know.
No idea.
You're worse than me. No, Michael's worse than all of us actually. His
Yeah.
pronunciations. He was trying to pronunciate the place in India last night, which was struck by the storm.
I didn't see any of that.
Struck by Cyclone Thingy, watch it. Cyclone Hood. If you remember that one, that was a storm that struck the Philippines back in sorry, not the Philippines, what am I saying now? That struck India in 2014. I'm just looking at what the place is called. I'm trying to pronounce that one as well. It was in Andhra Pradesh, was it? Visakhapatnam, something like that. Visakhapatnam. There we go. I think I've got it. Luckily, places in the Philippines aren't quite as hard to pronounce here than those places in India, some of them anyway. I think we may have lost Daniel for the time being. So you're looking at Typhoon Maysak. If you've just joined us, its wind speeds are around 100 miles per hour. It's around 160 kilometers per hour. That's 160. And the storm's expected to gradually weaken before it makes landfall with wind speeds probably around 65 or 70 miles per hour. Let's actually have a look at what JTWC say on intensity when it does make landfall. Yeah, we're looking at 65 miles per hour when it does make landfall. So that's probably going to be around 110 kilometers per hour in the eastern part of the Philippines, and then more weakening, and then a very weak depression by the time it nears Hainan Island in China is probably the scenario as we enter day 5 on April the 8th. There's Sean showing us the blue marble, as it's called. Space name for the Earth. And you can see both storms there as well. Not particularly large. Maysak seems to have shrunk in the past few days. It's a far cry from when it was a very strong Category 5 with winds of 160 miles per hour when it did peak. But luckily it's not at that intensity anymore. There isn't that much left of it. Jason's showing us Invest 91S. You can see it there. Looking a little bit ragged by the looks of things. Dry air off towards to the east and south, a little pocket of it there as well. And towards the west, loads of dry air over the northern part of Madagascar into the coast of Africa, Mozambique, and all points in between. Very high amounts there, so if the storm goes anywhere near that, it's going to not last very long. The main threat from this storm lies with the island of Rodrigues, which will probably not, incidentally, see too much from the storm. Back with Maysak, which is the biggest threat at this point. Still likely to make landfall as a significant storm. We're expecting winds, as I said, of around 65 miles per hour. And of course, don't forget, we'll be live once more this evening at 11 PM UTC if you'd like to join us. That's going to be 7 AM in the Philippines, so make sure you don't miss that one as well if you're an early riser, or indeed a late to bed person if you live here in the UK, for instance. And we'll also be doing another update tomorrow, probably around the same time as today as well. But I'll have to confirm that at a later time. But there's the provinces of the Philippines. So let me go through those areas again. Isabela, which is the large province highlighted in pink, extending southwards to Aurora, Quezon, including Polillo Island, Camarines Norte and Camarines Sur, and the island of Catanduanes towards the east. That's where we have Signal 1 warnings in effect right now. Signal 1 warnings in effect for those areas. They do not include Albi and Sorgensen, and they do not include inland areas at the moment at this time either, and it also doesn't include Cagayan either at this point. So just those locations that I mentioned where we have signal 1 warnings, though these warnings are likely to expand and include more areas as the storm draws nearer, and some of those warnings may be upgraded to signal 2 as well as time goes on. We're expecting the landfall area to be somewhere around probably in Isabella, but could quite possibly fall a bit further south and may make landfall in Aurora, but we are not sure yet.
Update going to be tonight?
Well, yeah, it's going to be around 11 p.m. UTC, which will be around 7 a.m. in the Philippines. Time here in the UK at the moment is 20 minutes to 4 in the afternoon, which means that it is 20 minutes to 11 in the Philippines right now.
Hopefully tonight there shouldn't be any mishaps like last night.
Mishaps? Well, last night went pretty well, actually.
No, I was talking about me.
Yeah. What's really staggering, to be quite honest, is that Michael didn't swear once.
No.
Yeah, he didn't. Watch it back if you want. You'll find that he didn't.
Yeah. I'm not a you're not saying I'm a bad influence, are you?
Oh, I think you are, Daniel.
I could be.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's very fair.
Of course, we've seen 4 storms form in the Western Pacific so far. 3 of those have become typhoons, haven't they? I think so.
Something.
And one of those has become, well, 2 of those have become major typhoons of Category 3, and just the one so far, Maysak, becoming a Category 5. And we could have our 5th tropical storm on the way as well, because Tropical Depression 5 has formed towards the east near Micronesia, and we'll be running updates on that one as well if necessary. No warnings in effect on that one just yet, though it is lying just towards the north of where are we? Micronesia. Near Chuck, actually. Near Pompeii and Chuck. If you look at the forecast as well, you'll also see other areas that the storm may be affecting in the next few days. It looks like it will make its closest approach to Fananu, and then it will curve towards the northeast, and loads of other places on there as well. A place called Oroluk, according to JTWC, it will pass within 25 miles of that place. I've never heard of it before. Lucanor as well, 168 miles. That's a good deal further away. 96 miles from Chuck at its closest approach, which is expected tomorrow. So we'll keep our eyes on that. Jason also shows us the, what's that? Is that? Yes, the naming list. The next name. Oh, what's that noise? The next name in the West Pacific will be Haishen, and that will be used for Tropical Depression 5W if it does become a tropical storm. Next names after that are Nole, Dolphin, and Kajira. And in the Philippines, the next name, hold on, scroll back up a bit. The next name in the Philippines will be Dodong, and yep, there we are, Dodong will be the next name in the Philippines. And going back down once more, the next name to be used in the Indian Ocean, which I did see there for a moment. I've forgotten what it was already. The Indian Ocean, South Indian, the next name will be, is that Ikola? And after that, if we get to J, it will be Joalane or something like that. Joalane.
There's one of the. You said one of them's. Is it a was one of them being called Dolphin? A dolphin.
There will be a typhoon called Dolphin in a.
Dolphin.
Yeah, two storms from now, there will be a dolphin in the West Pacific.
Obviously.
What do you mean?
Dolphins. There's lots of dolphins in the Pacific.
Okay. How do you know? Have you ever been in the West Pacific, Daniel?
No.
Right. Well,
Probably are, though.
how would you know then? They might as well do typhoon names called whale and shark next as well. Maybe that's going a bit over the top. I'd like to know who suggested the name dolphin, because they all the countries in the Asian area put forward names to be used in the typhoon seasons. So I'm not sure who dolphin was suggested by. Do we know? Oh, it actually has the names at the top. Hong Kong. Yeah, that's not a surprise actually. I thought it would be Hong Kong when I first heard of it, but I didn't want to say in case I was wrong. But evidently, I was right. I can understand the word Kai Tak for Hong Kong as well, because they named an airport in Hong Kong Kai Tak, didn't they? Which I think came before the typhoon name anyway. But yeah, and I think most of the other names mean something in their native language, but I'm not sure what. And it's,
What does dolphin mean?
oh, I don't know.
Why is it called dolphin?
Ask Hong Kong. Will you stop? Thank you. Quite interesting as well how Hagupit, which was a significant storm for the Philippines, was a Philippine name, which is rather interesting as well.
Can I ask something?
Yeah, you can. You can ask anything.
Dolphin, it's occurring in the Pacific, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which part? Do you know? Well, you obviously don't know, do you?
Well, no.
No.
The storm will form somewhere in the West Pacific, probably this year, but we can't be certain about that. But I should imagine it'll be this year, probably in the next few months.
Because I was going to say, if it formed in the Eastern Pacific, it'd be a terrible irony if it hit SeaWorld, because there's lots of dolphins there.
And there are no dolphin places in the West Pacific, Daniel? Come on.
I don't know.
Well, we'll get to know. And if you're wondering about Japan's stance on these storms so far, they haven't recognized the tropical depression yet, but I imagine they will do some point soon. They're saying that Typhoon Maysak has an air pressure of 965, so they think it's substantially weaker now. Air pressure is around, well, according to ACWC, it's going to be around 959, so still strong, as it says, strong, but 965 millibars, much higher than what it used to be, and a much weaker storm than what we used to have as well. But still could possibly be a threat to the Philippines. I think it's probable, actually. And Daniel's got the giggles. I'd really like to know what you're laughing at.
Nothing.
Now you always say nothing, but it's something.
It doesn't matter. It's something that could be potentially distasteful.
Well, just say it in code.
I can't say it in code at all. I don't know how to code.
Oh dear. What are we going to do with you, Daniel?
I'll message it to you.
Okay, just to remind everyone. No, do it now, because you'll forget. Just to remind everyone, Signal 1 warnings are in effect for these provinces: Isabela, Aurora, Crivino, Quezon, including Polillo Island, Catanduanes, Camarines Norte, and Camarines Sur, which are all located along the east coast of Luzon, north to south. So all areas in between Isabela and Camarines Sur, not including Albay and Sorsogon. So almost the whole eastern coast of Luzon, but not quite. Daniel?
I'm just messaging it to you now.
Okay, fine. Just message me. There's a terrain map of the Philippines as well. So you can see how it's a fairly mountainous area ahead of the storm. When it does make landfall in the Philippines, if it does strike around the Cagayan Valley region, which I'm guessing is that big green area towards the center of the northern part of Luzon, and more mountains towards the western side, which will probably weaken the storm significantly, as well as its other effects, which quite possibly there may be wind shear affecting the storm as well. If not, there'll be certainly dry air affecting the storm too. So obviously, But still, we would still expect that there'll be something left by the time it does move over the South China Sea, and eventually the storm will dissipate not too far from Hainan Island in China. Let me actually load up something new, and just to have a little bit of a break from the storm. We've been talking about that for a while.
Yeah, certainly.
Just to let you know. Just to let you know what happened on this day in the world of storms. Some of us are in April the 3rd, but a select few are now in April the 4th. And the Philippines aren't far away from being in that company as well. So we'll do both those days. So what happened on this day on April the 3rd? Tropical Depression 2W formed in 2011. Tropical Storm Adeline formed in the South Indian Ocean in 2005. Cyclone Jaya in 2007 made landfall in Madagascar as a Category 1 storm. It did kill 3. Tropical Storm Lin in 2009 formed near Tonga, and Tropical Storm Daphne dissipated in 2012 in the South Pacific. On April the 4th, Tropical Storm Cliff formed and killed 4 people in Fiji, and also caused $4 million on the same day of damage. Tropical Storm Carmen formed in the Eastern Pacific in 1980, a very early storm for the East Pacific. But was that perhaps further west, maybe? I'm not sure. But that's what I've got on my sheet anyway. Kong Ray in 2007 peaked as a Category 3 typhoon in the Western Pacific, and Tropical Depression 1 in 2011 dissipated in the Western Pacific as well. So that's for April the 4th. John's showing us the latest models, what they're saying. And if you have any messages for us, then please let us know, and we'll respond in double quick time.
Not me.
Oh, you won't. No, you certainly won't. Just me.
I'm using the iPod app. It's terrible.
Right. Is that what you were laughing at, Daniel?
No.
What you posted to me on Skype?
Kind of that and kind of something else.
Yeah, it was probably something else, wasn't it? Because that's not really very funny.
No, not really.
No, it's not.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, you should be, Daniel. It's not a very good joke.
No, terrible. I'm not good with jokes.
Woeful. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you something to cheer you up.
Go on.
Has there ever been a Hurricane Bubbles?
No.
Well, if there was, it'd be pretty ridiculous, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I'd say so, Daniel. It sounds like something that someone would send me in a hypothetical hurricane season request.
Exactly, yeah. And Hurricane Santa as well.
No. Had enough of that.
Hurricane Santa?
Jason's showing us the current situation on Typhoon Maysak. Drier air towards the western part of the storm, particularly over the western side of the Philippines. The storm itself still maintaining a strong central course, so wherever the landfall area is around the epicenter of the landfall, we'll probably, of course, we'll experience the worst of the storm, but may experience typhoon conditions. We don't know yet, but it does appear that the storm may well weaken significantly enough that it will not be a typhoon by the time it makes landfall. We are expecting the storm not to be far from typhoon intensity, though, at that point, with winds of around 110 kilometers an hour. That's what we're expecting. And that landfall area, we're expecting it to be around Isabella. I don't know whether Jason could maybe zoom in on the actual landfall area and see what sort of places we have there on that map that he was on. Because it's not particularly populated along the coast, but it is more populated in the actual valley, in between those two mountain ranges, where we have several cities there, you can see. So those will probably be the worst places affected out of the larger areas. But there aren't too many places along the coast there, only small towns by the looks of things. So it is a fairly sparsely populated area. If you could just move north a little bit, because I think the storm may move more towards the north of that, and then expected to move further towards the west-northwest. So it is fairly sparsely populated on the eastern side there, but a little bit more populated in the valley region in between those two mountain ranges. So I suppose that's one good thing about the storm. Another good thing is that initially we anticipate that the storm may well have made landfall as a Category 3 on the Saffir-Simpson hurricane wind scale, and that would be winds of around 200 kilometers per hour, but it seems less likely now. Well, obviously it is, because the storm's much weaker already. We're looking at barely typhoon status by the time it does make landfall, and we're probably looking at around 110 kilometer per hour winds near the center of the storm. So that's only near the very center, but in other places it will probably be much less of an event than we're currently anticipating. But Signal 1 warnings in effect for the whole areas, so do be careful. Obviously the usual safety precautions, I'm sure all the people in the Philippines are more than familiar with those because of the amount of typhoons they experience per year. Is it something like 10 typhoons a year on average or something like that? I know the Philippines gets hit by loads and loads of storms. I did some research back in 2013 covering how many storms struck all the parts of the world from 1950 to 2013, and in the Philippines, these are the statistics. Where are we? There we are. In Luzon, from 1950 to 2013, in Luzon alone, there were 253 storms that made landfall. 96 of those were tropical storms, 60 Category 1s, 30 Category 2s, 27 Category 3 storms, 29 Category 4, and 10 of those did make landfall as Category 5 super typhoons. In the Visayas region, it's even more. 260 storms made landfall there between 1950 and 2013, and in Mindanao, further south, much less, only 16, but 2 of those were Category 5 storms, and one of those, of course, was Bopa, back in 2012.
You brought up the other day that I started making like a playlist of public domain hurricane footage. The only news reports. Did you watch any of those? I think they were from the 60s or something. Did you watch any?
I didn't have time, but I've probably seen things like that before, if not the very same videos.
They're rather dramatic. They're rather,
Were they like a newsreel format, or were they just like raw footage?
Newsreel format.
Yeah.
Seemed a bit melodramatic, to try and make it seem more.
Well, quite often what they did back in those days, maybe not in the 60s, but maybe slightly earlier than that, when they did these newsreels, was that they had really dramatic string music in the background, didn't they?
Yeah.
And orchestral music.
Yeah.
Sound like a horror film.
Yeah.
And that announcer sounding awfully excited, but extremely dramatic, and in that, the 60s voice that they did.
Maybe one of us could do a parody or something of that.
Get on with it then, Daniel. I'm not doing it. Oh, that's
the announcer voice.
That's a good map from Jason showing the population of the districts there. So it's quite difficult to master the color coding. So the pink areas are the least populated areas. The green areas a little bit more populated. The yellow more still, and then obviously going towards the dark red, dark orange, dark red, showing the most populated areas. Obviously around Manila, that sort of area, we're looking at the highest amount of populations. But the storm will pass towards the north of that. The area we're most interested in is along the eastern coast of Aurora and Isabela there, where populations by district are around 200,000 to what looks to be around 400,000 by district. So if you look at it like that, what we're expecting, probably around 1 million, maybe more people who could possibly see effects from the storm, though people who will be significantly affected will probably be in the region of around maybe, what, 300, 400,000? Though that's not to say that there will be 400,000 people who have damaged houses by the end of this storm, obviously, but just that they'll all be in the path of the storm. But anyway, we've reached the end of our hour, so I mean, we're not too stringent on whether we can stay on air for longer or not, but I think we've covered all bases, really. So at this point, we'll probably wrap things up here at Force 13 HQ and with all our affiliates, which are helping us out here this evening, this afternoon, wherever you are. So it was very nice of everyone to join us once again, and of course we'll be doing another update soon as well. So thank you for joining us, Jean. I see it's got dark there, has it? It was light there when we started. Is that really quick and Mauritius? Daniel, thanks for joining us this afternoon.
Can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
The wiki, or can that be for later on?
What's that?
The Force 13 wiki.
Tell people.
Yeah, there's a Force 13 wiki that's started recently. You can find it at force-13.wikia.com.
Now this is fan-based, so you just search. It's like the Force 13 website, but just add wikia.com instead of force13.com.
Feel free to contribute anything you've got. Keep in mind it'll be moderated though, so.
Not by me. I'm not taking any part in that.
Yeah. So anything that's questionable or anything will be removed immediately.
Well, that's Daniel's rules anyway. Jason, thanks for joining us also this evening in Australia, where it's very dark. Have fun with the moon eclipse tomorrow. I'm sure it'll be a blast. Yeah. And for myself, Nathan Foy, it was nice to see you once again, and we'll be seeing you again very soon indeed. Our next video update will be occurring live at 11 p.m. UTC. That's going to be 7 a.m. in the Philippines on the other side of tonight. So early rises in the Philippines. Be sure to join us then. We'll be posting updates on the social pages in the meantime. But until then, that's all from me for now. Goodbye.